I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Michael Moore. I've known Mike for over 30 years. He's always been a friend, somebody you can depend on, someone you can go see a great movie with. But a few things I've always noticed, no matter what season he's in, he always has a positive spin to it. Definitely displays tremendous leadership qualities, resilience, wisdom. He's able to take action, and he is someone that you rarely run across during the course of your life. So without further ado, Michael Moore here on Building the Inner You.
And we pray, and we pray, and we pray. Every day, every day, every day. And we pray, and we pray, take me up. And we pray, and we pray, and we pray. Every day, every day, every day.
Hey, before I get started, I want to share something that really matters to me. The stories and ideas you'll hear on Building the Inner You can be relatable and encouraging, but they're only a starting point. Mental and emotional health are serious, and while inspiration can spark change, it's often not enough on its own. If something here hits close to home, I encourage you to take the next step with a licensed mental health therapist or reaching out to a healthy church community where you feel safe, supported, and known. Growth and healing are not meant to be done alone. Thanks. Good morning, Mike. I normally don't record in the morning, but man, I had to catch you because I know you have some compelling information or a story for us that can help encourage us. So how are you today?
I'm doing well, Mike. I thank you for inviting me on here. I'm looking forward.
Of course, man. It's been a long time coming. So, Mike, again, Building the Inner You, we always want to hear those backstories. We want to hear those
Yeah,
stories that people don't stick around to hear. We don't take
yeah,
too much time to listen because we're in a rush so much. So,
always.
so I'm hoping today, like we always do when we talk, it's always something, some nuggets come out, something inspiring, something that helps us to continue to move forward, encouraging. So, so, Mike, again, we're going to start with the challenge or the problem. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the breakthrough moment, the time where you knew that things had to change. And then we're going to talk about the rhythm or what you're doing today to keep going and anything else that you
Okay,
would like to share. I don't want to keep you in a box, but I want this to be just like we normally do. Real life
okay.
talking, real life people, nothing phony, no highlights, but keeping it raw and real. That sounds
Hey,
good?
hey, that's what I'm all about. Being
All
authentic.
right. Awesome. So, Mike, let me know what's been going on, man. How's life?
I mean, life has been going pretty good. I had to make some, as they say, executive decisions to keep some people totally out of my life as far as access. Started a new job back in December. I've been in training for the last few weeks. That's going real well. I'm about to have a birthday celebration on next Monday. So,
Oh, happy
I'm just
birthday.
looking at my, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Before I
Just
forget.
looking, no, you're fine. And I'm just, looking at making this year more purposeful than it was last year for myself, not repeating some of the maybe mistakes that I made in terms of not paying attention to what's really going on behind the scenes, things of that nature. And then just doing things purposely for myself, not trying to rescue anyone. I took that cape off and burned it, and I'm going to keep it burned and keep it buried because there's no need for it.
Love
No
that,
need.
Mike. Love that. It's a great way to start the year in an encouraging way instead of coming in distracted. Not a great way to start. But many of us start really positive, but we run out of steam before we know it. So, Mike, is there like, if you can think, I'm sure it's many, because nobody can avoid trials, nobody can avoid trouble.
No.
So if it's one experience you mind diving into that you learned last year or even this year already, something that was a defining moment for you.
Yeah, I want to say last year, I was really facing a lot of hurdles. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what was going to happen. One of them was actually facing eviction because of not being able to pay my rent because I had lost my income back in the end, towards the end of 2023. And then I had my vehicle stolen. All of that happened in like weeks apart from one another before Thanksgiving in 2023. And then the thing is that I was around people that didn't even try to help, and maybe criticized, me for whatever reason. I really don't know. I think, as I look back at what I was facing last year, my faith was definitely challenged in a place. I was in somewhat of a place where I was sick at the beginning of January of last year. Um,
Mhm.
Thank God I was able to finally get the answer to what I was going through. It was real serious, too, by the way. But that wasn't discovered until March. I had ran temperatures of 100 and close to 103 every day, and driving to work, not wanting to miss work. I was working at a hospital uh, as a communications representative, and didn't want to disclose to my boss that I was sick. So,
Mhm.
excuse me, I kept a lot of that to myself, and keeping that to myself, I lost my car keys to my vehicle in my house. And
Mhm.
I was like, everything you could possibly think of happened to me at the beginning of last year. But the good part, I was able to secure a grant that absolved me of the debt for past rent.
Mhm.
And then with my health situation, I went to a doctor, that an emergency room actually, that was able to pinpoint what it was and started me on the medication immediately that treated that situation, because it almost, I don't know how familiar you are with medical terms, but my situation was becoming what they call sepsis, which is very severe. And it could, if not treated, the situation could have led to death.
Mhm.
That's how, but I
That's
attribute all of this to the momentum of the stress level I was under. Great
okay.
stress. So to navigate away from all of that, I just had to I had to really trust God. I mean, that's just no other way to put that. And had, quite a few people praying for me, for my mental health, really, to be honest with you. And then being able to come out of that, not saying unscathed. I mean, there were some, things that I had to deal with in terms of people that were trying to gain access to me again. So I
Mhm.
had to finally make a decision in December to X those people out permanently and tell them about themselves and just leave it be, But
Mhm.
it made me stronger. I will tell you that it made me stronger, not just on the faith level, but on a mental level. But that was only because of the fact that, when you're sick, you're vulnerable. Your body is trying to fight and compensate, antibodies and things of that nature. But your mental health can also
Mhm.
be impacted. So just
That's true.
keeping my mind in a place of, I love music. So I had
Yeah.
to kind of, go that route and preoccupy my mind with things that are positive and reinforcements rather than focusing on the situation before me.
Okay. So, Mike, you just said a whole lot. Let's take a deep breath, kind of think about it. And I know that you're a warrior, man, because you just went through those things like they were easy. Ain't no way in the world any of those things you mentioned was easy. So, what I want to
No, it
do, it looked
wasn't.
like it looked like you started off, suffered some loss, some things were stolen from you. Then how you were feeling, I'm sure you were feeling like some rejection, a little depression, especially because no one would help you. Probably people you would depend on or thought would step up didn't step up. And then you got into some of the attacks on your health. You were having
Right.
some really big challenges on your health. And then you talked about you kept working. So you
So
what
let me,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I can back up. I can back up. So let's deal with the loss. Let's deal with the loss. Well, when I lost my job and, my car was stolen at that time, I was, visiting my mom, trying to basically help someone, which really was a usership. It wasn't a friendship. It wasn't any relationship. It was a usership that I realized I was in. And, with this person and their daughter, in person, I mean, woman, when my vehicle was stolen, the little girl, her daughter said, "What are we going to do, mom?" And I'm like, nobody's asking me how I'm feeling. I mean, this is all about, that's why I say, you got to know who you're around. You really
Yeah.
got to know who you're around. And that was in 2023, but my moving to 2024 before I go back to 2025, um, there was an altercation I ended up getting into with a person who basically tried to take me out. I mean, literally, I was hit in both my eyes. So I want to give you some context of what I'm talking about. So I had to have emergency surgery at Cook County Hospital for my right eye. I had a gas bubble put around my eye to preserve it, and thank God I made it through that because both my eyes were hit with a heavy object, blunt object. And then the recovery. I mean, I was unemployed. I lost my unemployment benefits. I was trying to work for a school bus company. Well, to take special need kids to school. So I'm trying to do
Hmm.
that. Still doing DoorDash, but not able to pay my rent. I'm just being honest. So now we fast forward to 2025. So just had surgery months back on my right eye. My
Hmm.
left eye was developing some issues from the trauma that I incurred in 2024. During the same time, I'm dealing with facing eviction, having to go to eviction court, being sick in my body, losing my house keys as well as my car keys, and having to use the spare key fob that I had for my car, but having to leave my apartment unlocked and asking someone to buzz me in.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
found my keys, towards the end of that week in a place that I had just looked,
So, Mike,
look,
there's
yeah,
still this was a lot of twists and turns. You had many chances to give up. I mean, like,
I did.
all the way from the thefts, the laws,
Yeah,
your health, your job, the relationship thing came in,
yeah,
which relationships alone can be very tragic at times and tough to walk and
yeah,
tough to navigate. And I still see you here today. I still
yeah,
hear you, man, speaking positivity,
yes,
helping others, putting
yes,
others before yourself. So I'm just trying to sum it all up because I know you're a beast. I know God has given you strength and God has walked with you, man. I've heard you say it millions of times that without him you wouldn't be where you're at. But somehow, Mike, every morning when you get up, you still find purpose. You still find something positive to hold on to. You still keep moving. You could have got off this train a long time ago, but you
yeah.
still see purpose in it. And hey, Mike, before you talk more about that, can you move your camera over a little bit more centered? I know we kind of like got a little emotional, kind of slid out of view. So okay, I wanted to go back because again, that was a whole lot. And I want to be sensitive and I want to make sure that in each of those pockets of transitions you were going through, I just want to hear like what was going through your mind at that time. Some of the things, if
I
you can
mean,
remember.
honestly, well, yeah, I have a very good memory. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I was depressed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna pretend that that didn't affect me to the point where I just kind of withdrew myself from things. I wasn't, really into. I mean, I create my own music, make my own, little beats or raps or whatever. But I wasn't
Yeah.
doing that. I wasn't writing. I wasn't. I wasn't doing some of the things I normally do. Like I wasn't going to the movies. I love going to the show. I was battling mentally. It was like really being down in the ring. You know how they say one, two, three. And
Yep.
every once, in a while in that ring, I would get up, but then staggering, I fell right back over. And, my father, because I have to put him in the picture. During a time when all of this was going on, I had eventually got another vehicle, but my credit was shot. I was like some debt that I carried over. I'm not trying to rehash everything, but I've just,
Hmm.
had to go through a chapter 7 recently. I just went through that.
Hmm.
When I tell you I suffered great loss, I did. And every day was not peaches and cream. Some days were better than others. Last year, I had to kind of like mentally put myself in a cryogenic chamber a little bit so that I could kind of focus on what I needed to do to get to work and get home. And then I would just be in my not a vegetative state, but in a
Hmm.
state of uncertainty. And
Hmm.
I tried my best, obviously, to make it to some services. The church I was going to, unfortunately, was teaching doctrine that I didn't agree with. So I had to
Hmm.
just remove myself from that environment and try to find other sources of inspiration, which I did on YouTube. This pastor named Stephen Furtick, I started listening to in elevation worship. So that kind of helped on the days where I had to work on a Sunday and
Yeah.
basically keep myself on, I mean, I don't know how else to tell you this, spiritual life support. I was literally on spiritual life support to the point where, once I started getting the strength and, those situations, passed, so to speak, I still was in the belly of the beast, as they say, because
Yeah.
my job was a very toxic environment, very high stress. And I just, I hate to say this, but I was just going through a repeated, I need this door open. I need this door open. And it
Hmm.
was desperation. I'm not going to lie to you. I was in a desperate state last year,
Hmm.
in the midst of everything else I was facing because, I just couldn't take it. And a friend of mine that I used to work with on another job, she reached out to me just to see how I was doing. Now, the funny part about that is she was actually trying to give me a job at another company, but that didn't work out. And she was disappointed about that person not reaching out to me. And then she said, well, you know what? I have some openings in my department. And she instructed me what to say, what to do in the interview. And I landed that position this past December.
So, Mike, congratulations on that. Uh, that's cool. I'm trying to go back because you still have layers of things you're sharing
I'll go
that,
back. I'll go back.
and
I'll
I
go
know you're
back.
not sharing it all. I'm sure some things that.
I'm gonna be
Um,
honest with you.
so go ahead.
Before even that happened, and let me back up.
Okay.
I had a few surgeries I had to go through last year with my left eye. And in the midst of going through those surgeries, I also had to deal with working in a toxic environment. A boss basically telling me that she was disappointed in me. She thought I would surpass her expectations. She started journaling my mistakes in February. I was like, I'm not even done with training, and you're already judging me. So I
Yeah.
had to deal with that. I even went to HR, well, not HR, but her boss, in regards to some of the things I was experiencing. It didn't seem like anything was happening. And to be honest with you, Mike, I'm not going to lie to you. There were some moments where I was just like, well, I mean, what else can I do? I mean, am I going to be a glutton for punishment or I'm going to do something about it?
Hmm.
So, in the moments where nothing was happening, was those moments where I just kind of like went through the motions at work. I
Hmm.
didn't try to connect with people. Um, the only thing that saved me, if I can say that word, was that I started doing blogs. And at first, my blogs were just basic, lift me up encouragements. But
Hmm.
then my blogs got real specific about the
Hmm.
toxic environment I was working in. And though I
Hmm.
didn't use names, I
Yeah.
used situations that I was facing, that I went through previously. And I started really becoming transparent in those blogs. And I would draw pictures, to try to, illustrate some of the things that I believe.
Yeah.
But then, it only went so far because, again, I was in I had moments, Mike, where I fell to my knees and I was like in so much pain that I was like, I can't take it. I cannot take this anymore. I just wanted it to be gone because it got to the point where we're not talking about depression right now. We're talking about to the point where I can't go any further. And mentally, I shut down. Emotionally, I shut down because of the surgeries I had and because I just felt like my life didn't mean anything. I mean, I'm preaching, this gospel, but I'm
Mhm.
dying inside, and it's a conflict of interest,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
I really I suffered I don't mind sharing with this with you. I suffered from February all the way to July going through that moment.
Wow.
I don't know how many months that is, but and then even when I went to a family reunion, which was the first for me ever in my adult life, I was there, but I wasn't all the way there. If you understand where I'm coming from, because I was still dealing with pain in my back, and I felt like yeah, I'm away, but I'm not enjoying myself. And I went to the Bahamas. It was just like a brief memory in my head,
Mhm.
and like I said, I have a very good memory. And of course, with my mom, with this family reunion meant a lot to me. But there were some nights that, I was just thinking to myself, I want this out of life. I want a family. I want, some things I want. And feeling like I don't have those things and looking at the age that I am, I'm like,
Mhm.
what am I doing wrong? You know, I,
Mhm.
I did an assessment of my life in terms of did I do something to bring this upon myself? And all I could think about was this is something I had to guess go through. And my resolve after that family reunion was that I'm going to try harder and harder to look for another position that allowed me
Mhm.
to work from home. And
Mhm.
that kind of helped me a little bit. And the people that read my blogs, were very encouraging. They said, you should write a book. Many
Absolutely.
times I heard that in my life, and I
Absolutely.
said, this year I am going to do something with that. And I started writing a lot of poetry more than, writing lyrics and stuff. And
Mhm.
my poems resonated with a lot of people to the point where I had, like, at one point, over 5,000 people viewing a poem I wrote.
Mhm.
You know
Mhm.
how encouraging that is? And it was
Mhm.
about, I wasn't deep in that poem. I was just talking about how I wish my life could be and
Mhm.
how I wish things would be between me and my father, which I also dealt with last year. Um,
Yeah.
he wanted me to be a delivery person to him rather than the son, delivering alcoholic beverages to him when he's dealing with ALS. And I told him about my eviction thing. He said, I'm sorry to hear that, but hey, let's go and get some tailor-made suits. And I'm like, I'm about to face being on the street. You think I care about a suit,
Yeah.
custom made? I had to deal with so much emotionally and spiritually. Mike, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was really in a crucible, for a better
Yeah.
choice of words, last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know any man. My mother even told me towards the end of last year, she says that most people wouldn't have survived what I did, went through. Most people wouldn't have.
But most
And
people would not have survived. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I'm sorry the internet got a little delay. So apologize if I'm trying if it sounds like I'm speaking over you. I just wanted to say it was the reason why you had all of those thousands of people that read that blog that you did because I'm sure it was resonating with a lot of the pains and things that they had to go through. But Mike, if you were to write your book today and you had to kind of summarize this recent journey you just shared, what are some of those breakthrough moments that gave you some rays of hope to keep going? You mind sharing that? Because the title of the show is Building the Inner You. I'm sure because you could have gave up long time ago that you have some things inside of you that's been deposited in you to help keep you strong and moving forward. That's what I would love to hear about now.
Okay, well, let me just tell you this. I don't know how else to explain this to you, but there were moments that I really wanted to give up. That I know without a shadow of doubt in my life, God would not let me do it. And it was a strength that came through hearing something that maybe was preached long ago that gave me a recharge or rekindling of that knowing that no matter how bad it was for me, I could make it. I could get through another day. I can't tell you how many close calls I came with accidents last year too. And in those moments, all I could say is help. I didn't have an elaborate prayer. I didn't.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that it was a feeling deep, deep, deep inside that told me and gave me a peace. And in those moments where it was very tumultuous, um, there's no other way I could describe that other than saying that the peace of God encompassed me and
Hmm.
helped me navigate, through those waters. Because those are some deep waters. And in real life,
Hmm.
when I was a child, um, I remember I was at the YMCA and some kid pushed me into the water and I almost drowned. And from that point on, I had somewhat of a fear of being in deep water. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
That always a fear. And here I am, circa 2025. I'm in a very deep, 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 deep water. And
Yeah.
my life preserver at that time I thought was everything that you could possibly think of. But no, I had one of those special inflatable flotation devices, which was the word of God to me. And honestly, I don't know how else to put it to you. Because I know in my human mind, you
Yeah.
can go through and do everything. Someone actually told me, and I had to refute what they were saying. They said, "Well, obviously you're not praying hard enough, you're not fasting hard enough," and that's where I have a problem with religion because you can do all of those things, and I'm not gonna ever knock that. But
Yeah.
there are some times in your life that the only thing you can really do is rely on just being still. I don't know how else to tell you. When you're in the deep water, they tell you you're not supposed to, kick and do all of this. Just relax your body, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if one takeaway from last year I
Mhm.
had to learn was how to relax and not try to do, trying to be Superman.
Yep.
Superman has a weakness called kryptonite. Our kryptonite sometimes is our mind, or what we perceive as what somebody's trying to tell us as advice. But sometimes the best advice you can take is what you know deep, deep, deep inside. And that's really, in my case, the word of God.
Yeah. So, Mike, I know a little bit about your training. We've taken many like spiritual classes together back in the day. So,
Yeah.
as you reflect upon that, do you believe that some of the things that you learned and was trained in came into play while you were on a journey today?
You know, and I'm being real with you. Mike, I'm going to just say this. I was trained a lot of things, but the one thing I will say was the takeaway again was prayer, how to pray. I won't say the other things weren't important. They were, but it's different when you're facing, like if somebody had a gun pointed to your face. You're not going to be going back in your mind trying to think of what class you took and
Right.
what application. You're not. I'm sorry. I don't care how spiritual you are. That's not realistic. Sometimes God really wants you to just know what you know in that moment, that He's going to take care of this somehow. In your mind, you're saying somehow. He already knows the somehow. But you have to be real with yourself, Mike. That's one thing I honestly, last year, I had to be real with myself about a lot of things. I didn't have the
Yeah.
answer for. I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought I did. Nope, didn't have. And it's okay. It doesn't take away from my character. It doesn't take away from my faith. Sometimes we don't have an answer to why we go through the things we go through. But the most important thing that you can hold on to, and I tell anyone this, that's listening to this is that have confidence in yourself. I just posted something on LinkedIn last night. I don't know why I was doing that at 2 o'clock in the morning about confidence. It resonated with me when I saw this post, and I reposted it with my own thoughts. And I grew up with low self esteem. And it wasn't until I found the confidence in loving myself and in believing in myself. That also helped last year, too, by the way. And that wasn't necessarily something I was per se taught, but, you know, it played an integral part in me coming out, or as you say, breakthrough moments.
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know how you see people getting out of quicksand, like the residue is still on their clothing, and now they started to pick up momentum and they're out of that situation. That's what started happening with me. And it wasn't until November that I caught my stride. I started being able to breathe, even though I was in a pit of hell. I mean, oh, that's okay to say here, but I was in a pit of hell. I'm not gonna lie, proverbial. But I had to say to myself, you know, I'm not going out like that. I'm not going out like this as a loser. The Bears kind of helped inspire me, even though they got beat by the Packers multiple times, but they did win. But it inspired me because I had to think like that, you know? Yeah, I did lose a few times. And I think that's the other thing I want to also say before we go is that losing is okay if you lost because you didn't have the knowledge. Losing is okay if you didn't have the strength. But when you look at the bigger picture, every boxer will tell you they had their moments in a ring where they lost the fight, but they didn't lose the fight inside of them.
Mhm.
And that is what kept me also. I'm a fighter,
Yeah.
and that's what helped me break through some of those barriers and feeling like I was in muck, feeling
Yeah.
like I was stuck. And it's only by I say it all the time. It's by the grace of God that
Mhm.
I'm here today because if I had been back in 2025 and 2024 and 2023, I don't know,
Mhm.
Mike. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just joined a gym at the beginning of this year. I haven't had a chance to go due to some issues I'm dealing with, like nerve issues that I had to go to a doctor to get MRI done. And once they figure out what it is and, to treat it, then I'll be in that gym. I already
Mhm.
signed up, it has a swimming pool, all of that good stuff.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying all this to say is that part of last year, I had to make some executive decisions in my life to
Mhm.
either choose to win, even though it looks like I'm losing, or just stay in that mind state. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't stay in that mind state.
Yeah.
You could be in a situation, but not in the situation, if that makes sense.
No, 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 that makes sense. So, Mike, can you our time is running out. I just want to ask you, what would you tell someone that's going through similar things that you have or anything that seems impossible to get through?
Don't isolate yourself. That's the number one thing.
Okay. What if they don't have anybody? Or they're saying, I don't have anybody I can trust, anybody I can talk to. Like, how would you help get that person to build some type of resilience or have hope for the future like you have?
I would tell them, I know this sounds very basic, but find your favorite artist, your favorite album, play it and play it on repeat. Because if it brings a smile to your face, that's one way to attack this. I love to laugh. Laughter, is like a good medicine. So watch something that's funny. It doesn't have to make sense, but put yourself in a state of mind where you're laughing again. Thirdly, if you're a spiritual person, and let me define spiritual, a person who has faith in God, if you can't make it to a service, look for something online that resonates with your spirit. that's not, you know, I mean, it could be an excerpt. Of course, I'm going to tell someone, read the word. But if you haven't made it to that point yet, listen to a sermon, that resonates with you. It ain't got to be nobody popular. You know what I mean? The fourth thing, if you're not any of those things, you don't have anyone to reach out to, you don't have a favorite song or music, and you're not a person of faith, the best thing I could tell someone is to believe in yourself
Mm.
and make affirmations. Go in the mirror every morning and say, I can make it. I can do it. I am worth it. And say it until you believe it. Doesn't matter how many times, but say it until you believe
Mhm. Thanks, Mike. I totally appreciate your transparency, opening up and sharing. Again, I'm sure it's going to help someone out there hear that there's hope no matter how tough things get. And it's one thing, you alluded to it slightly earlier. You were talking about to the effect of no matter how much you pray, no matter, how great you are, that you can't avoid trouble. Like
it.
it's no
No,
way that we can avoid it. Like, I mean, it's coming. And the best way that we can prepare for it, one, is to expect and know that eventually it's gonna come. So what can I do today to prepare myself for what's to come? Because it's
and I'm gonna
coming.
tell you this: the trouble is gonna come, but the most important thing, my takeaway, and there's no other way around it. But the Lord says that He is a present help in our time of trouble. So if you want to really find the Lord, He's gonna be where trouble is. So if you're in trouble, He's gonna be there, and that's exactly what I'll tell anyone that whether they believe or they don't. You
Yeah.
can't stray away from that. But let me just say this also, and real quick. The trouble doesn't mean it's going to consume you. The trouble means that when God is present, that He's going to help guide you through it.
Mhm.
That's what I want to be realistic in saying. He didn't say He would take away the trouble. He said He
Mhm.
would be a present help, meaning He's going to help you through it.
I
And I
love
think
it.
that's where we have to understand what that word says and not think, la, 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 la. It's not about, like a video game, you get an extra life. No, you get extra help when that's what that means.
Oh man, I love that. Well, Mike, man, it's wow, it's been amazing. Um, Had some sappy moments, just listening to you, but at the same time, as always, I can say that you're a huge inspiration.
Thank you.
Just your strength. I know personally for me, and I'm sure others probably listening, it gives us hope that things can get better if you just keep
Yes.
pressing, keep pushing. And man, you're
Yes.
smiling. I mean, like, and I mean, when you first started your story, bro, I didn't know where we were going. I was like,
Neither
okay,
did
Mike,
I.
like, like, all right, Mike, like last time I talked to you, you were kind of pumped, man, but you always have great things to say, no matter what. And that's what I love about you. I
Thank
love
you.
the what we call the realness,
Yes.
not afraid to be yourself. And I think today that's another topic, but not afraid to be yourself. I can always
Right.
expect to walk away uplifted and refreshed after I speak to you.
Well,
So
thank you.
yeah, just want to
Thank
say
you.
it. And I know you made it clear. You're not saying you're perfect. You're not saying that
No.
it's I'm through it and nothing else is coming. You're saying it was tough. This is what the reality of what happened. This was God's grace, but I'm still going because I'm still hopeful, even though everything looks bleak right now. But I see
Right.
that God is doing something in my life. And it's funny, Mike. I continue to learn, like hearing different stories and just life in general, that there's no other way to build resilience and confidence than going through tough times. It's like it's no other way. There's no shortcut. Uh, a mentor of mine used to always say, if it was any shortcuts, I would have found them. But he's like, basically, was just saying, hey, you have to go through it and you have to learn how to embrace it. And the outcomes will look more like growth, healing, deliverance, and also just some strength for the future. So, but anyway, Mike, I appreciate you, man. It's been a great time. Make
I
sure
enjoyed being here.
I'm gonna be checking on you later. So just be sure,
Thank you.
continue to push through, continue to find something to make you laugh, write those poems, continue to do those
Yes.
vlogs. And
Yes.
I heard you challenge yourself, even though others have as well, about writing a book. And it's not
I
about having
am
you
this
already
year.
got it. And it's not all about how many people viewed it, liked it,
Mm-mm.
followed.
Mm-mm. No, it's in
I
me. I
know,
gotta put it
I
out.
know,
I gotta put it
yeah.
out.
I hear you. But I know even as you write it, God's going to continue the inner work. So I
Yes.
appreciate it. All right. Our
Thank you.
time is all but gone, man. Have an amazing
Okay.
day. And
You
that's
as
it.
well.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Mike. I
Talk to you
appreciate you,
next
man.
time.
Sounds
Thank you.
great. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.